This episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren, Colby Valve, and 4Patriots.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 426, Ultimate Adventure.
Tonight, Aaron flips the big switch, Coy goes hiking, and Ben assembles stuff.
Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. Your hosts tonight are Aaron and Coy. My name is Ben, and tonight we are joined by Trent McGee and Christian from the Ultimate Adventure. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being on, man.
Glad you're here. Was it just me, or did the countdown start at 8 and not 10?
It did. I was kind of weirded out by that. Either the video lagged. Hopefully on the other side they saw it just fine. If not, maybe I'll play it at the end of the show.
We're going to have to refund everybody's money that's sent in those pictures, I guess.
Yeah, refund the people who were in seconds 10 and 9 because they didn't get their photo shown.
Oh, no, I might have to do it again.
Josh says it usually doesn't start till 5 or 6. We're trying to get all 10 seconds in there, Josh, so
you know what?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Next week, I will start at when it says live exactly. I hit the button and kind of wait for it and then just hit the other button. So,
yeah, we'll get there. Work in progress. Well, since I have words coming out of my mouth, why don't I ask Coy what he's been up to this week?
I haven't done a lot this last weekend. I went MR2 the beach. The big MR2 event in Ocean Shores, Washington. So there's
how many were lifted and mud trains and stuff on them?
0.
Oh,
so yeah,
sad.
But I got 3rd place in the poker run. I did a poker run with go here to this GPS coordinate and take a picture. My wife did it with me, so they had a lot of cool different things for a poker run. Some would be like, go to this bar, get a drink, show the receipt, then you get your poker card. My wife, though, didn't want to do that. She wanted to do the one where it was like hike 2.5 miles to the end of this viewpoint, take a picture.
Rather than getting a drink at the bar.
Well, it's cheaper. I'll give her that. And then one was like, go to this arcade, get a ticket, for playing games. So I hiked 2.5 miles, and in the instructions, it was like, go to the beach at this location, hike to this location. There's an old road that used to drive down this peninsula, but it washed out up by the beach. But farther down, supposedly you could just easy hike down this paved road. And she was doing all the navigating, and she cuts us across from one side of the peninsula to the other. It's all rocky, and I'm like, man, this road really washed out. It's just like base rock. It's nothing here. We keep walking. It's finally we're at like a 45 degree on this bank, and I'm like, man, this guy was really taking liberties saying that it was an easy hike on this old road. And then suddenly something just clicked in my head. I'm like, there was never a road here. I was like, told my wife, I'm like, hey, when you looked at the satellite view, this looked like the road? She's like, oh yeah. So I pulled out my phone. Dead center of the peninsula, clear black road with a dotted line going down the middle of it. It's perfect. So I hiked through the grass to the road. But yeah, I got 3rd place in that, and I won a cool Toyota racing jacket and genuine Toyota parts clock like you see behind the counter at every Toyota dealer.
Does it have orange and yellow stripes on it, like a true old school Toyota?
No,
racing jacket?
I would have cried if I got a cool old school tricolor stripe, but no, it just says Toyota Racing in red. It's kind of that new GR, kind of theme.
Was it in a small because it
was the right price?
Was it in a small because that's the usual extra size they have?
It was in an extra large, and so when I picked that prize, I was like, I'm going to give this away, and then I just tried it on for giggles, and I was like, it fits perfect, so worked out good.
Nice. Well, just don't have it fly off you. Just don't have it fly off you while you're driving the MR2 with the top down like that hat you lost last week.
Yeah, like my old hat. What about you, Aaron? What have you been up to?
I also have done nothing off-road related. This is terrible that we've got guests from the Ultimate Adventurer on, and as you'll find out when Ben talks, none of us probably even drove our off-road rig. So this is really sad. But I worked on my shop this past week, and I got the last of it wired up. It's pretty much ready for inspection. So I'll get the inspector out here in a while, and I'm super happy about getting that checked off the list. I can start doing projects in there, start laying out the cabinets, stuff like that. So that's all.
I've been through that pain. I have been through that pain.
Yep. I'm like 2.5 years into building it mostly by myself, and that's where we're at. It's dried in. I've got electrical, plumbing will have to wait, but yeah, I'm excited for where we're at. And then I got school starting soon, so one last year of school for me, and then I won't have to do that anymore. So how about you, Ben? What haven't you been up to?
I have not been off-roader. I drove my 4Runner today. There we go. I was actually going to pull the 4Runner into the garage yesterday and start pulling it apart to get it ready for paint, because I don't have any plans to drive it until after SEMA. So I figured I'd strip it down and get it ready for paint. And then the minivan broke, so I've got to fix that first. Outside of that, my sister got married, so I had family stuff going on. It's been busy, and apparently we need to sell some underwear there for you, Josh.
Josh, you could probably just go on any website and just upload our logo, and they'll make it for you. You can cut out the middleman on that. If you want that underwear so bad, you can.
I think he was kind of hinting that he wants our old underwear with this on it. He wants that premium subscription.
What kind of podcast did we join here, Trent?
Yeah, whoa. This is not what we signed up for.
You got to sign up for our Patreon, okay?
Hard pass.
Yeah.
What about you, Trent?
Oh boy. Well, so with Ultimate Adventure, pretty much when you get home from Ultimate Adventure, what you want to do is that the last thing you want to do is go four-wheeling. So yeah, it's pretty much you don't even want to look at I rode with Christian this year. We'll get into that or whatever, but pretty much it's like you don't even want to look at the car. You don't want to touch the car. If you're lucky, you'll unload the car, but you want nothing to do with that car. So yeah, that's no four-wheeling for me. Sorry.
What about you, Christian?
I dug my Wrangler out of my avocado orchard, so that kind of counts. It was on dirt. Had to put it in 4x. So the poor little YJ's been sitting in my yard for about 11 months, and I finally got the gumption to charge up the old Optima in it and drag it out of the grove, and now it's in the driveway where I gotta figure out an engine swap for that one. So it needs a new motor. Factory little 2.5 is tired, but that's about it. Other than that, like Trent said, I unloaded my car, and that's about it, as far as I got.
Did it get
when
washed?
You say
yeah, I washed it.
Okay.
When you say you want to figure out a motor for it, like you want to find like an inexpensive replacement, or you want to do something exotic?
I want to figure out what I want to do. So I've owned this Jeep for like 14, 15 years now. And it's honestly one of my favorite rigs. It's old JP magazine project vehicle back when we actually had magazines. And it's still got the stock TBI 2.5 in it, no power steering. There's an alternator belt, and that's it. That's all there is on it. So it's dirt simple. That's me in a nutshell. Like, the less crap in an off-road vehicle, the better. So it's super simple, but it's got a ton of blow by, and like one of the cylinders is pretty much giving up the ghost by now. So I just kind of got an LS is the easy button. I kind of want like a 4.3, but then I'm like, nah, it's got an AX15 in it that I swapped in years ago. So that's my problem. I have too many options. Like, do I do a Dodge 3.9? Do I do a Toyota 3 RZ? Do I do, or do I rebuild the 2.5? But that's too obvious.
I mean, You got to go for that Cummins. What is it? R26. The
R2.8. That's
yeah,
that's
repower.
Repower. I want to see more of those get used. I like those a lot.
Each of us already own one of those. Is the problem?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
That would be a great engine for that vehicle.
It would be.
Isn't there a company out there that sells a small block Chevy sized electric motor that you could just drop in?
I'm not an electric motor guy. That ain't me, man. That's the company I work for, but not me. That's
okay.
What about like super teed off Ecotech turbocharged?
No, see, that's the thing. I don't want a lot of horsepower. I was that Jeep with the 4-cylinder, like it makes me slow down and smell the road.
I was just saying,
interesting.
Yeah, 4-cylinder.
That's like as close as I can come to a modern day flat fender. It's like it's got just enough power to get it down the road. I'm not going to do anything stupid. Okay. But what I'm saying, like I originally envisioned like a 600 horsepower LS build for that thing, which is why when I built the drivetrain, it's got like a 3/4 ton. All the TK's parts in it are like 6-pinion planetary and all that stuff. But
I'm gonna suggest this motor to you, and I can't remember the name of it, so you're gonna have to do the research yourself. There's a company that's making a 4-cylinder that's literally just half of an LS.
Blueprint, I think. Blueprint.
I think that would be a great one because just all the guys that run LSs, you're like, I just did the same thing with literally half of your motor. You can talk so much crap.
That would be good. That would be good.
If I can just get 150 horsepower, that's all I need in that particular Jeep. But I am one of those guys, no matter what I drive, it could have 900 horse. I'm like, that's pretty good, but it needs another 100 horsepower. I always, outside of this one particular vehicle, I always need another 100 horsepower.
What about the, what is it? The Mercedes 300D. What is that? The OM?
Oh, that OM 677 or whatever that diesel is?
316 or those are a good
alternative. But if I was going to do a diesel, I'd just do an R2.8.
Yeah,
I say that like I've got $10,000 falling out of my pants.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if you're gonna take the time and do it, I think those VW swaps are great. I forget the name of the company off the top of my head, but mainly because they renamed. But the problem there is, to get that engine, it's usually you're spitting distance from something a little bigger. But those get better mileage, I think, those VW ones.
Yeah, those little TDIs, and thanks to our buddies overseas in Europe that are doing all kinds of cool stuff, you can put a 1.9 TDI engine in front of almost any transmission.
Yep.
I mean, just about anything.
If you want it to be slow, you could and turbocharged, you could just find an old Kubota motor, out of like a 50 horsepower Kubota. Tweak it a little bit, get 75.
I don't hate myself. Come on.
That'd be cool. Put Kubota emblems all over your Jeep.
Josh in the comments is wondering if you've had any issues with the EPA when doing diesel swaps.
It really depends on the vehicle, the county you're registered in, all sorts of factors. For the most part, on that R2.8, I believe the cutoff year, I think they spilled into OBD2. Don't quote me. It's on the R2.8 Repower website.
Yeah, I think it's 96.
Yeah, but there is a ceiling that you can reach on those, and that Jeep I have is an older one. So
nice.
Yeah, mine was a 64 Scout, so it didn't really matter anyway. Here in Arizona, anything prior to 67 or 65, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
This Week in Review was brought to you by 4 Patriots. Have you ever been concerned with the shelf life of the food you take camping? Since you're a listener of the podcast, we know you at least keep some emergency food stashed in your rig. 4 Patriots sells a variety of survival food and equipment that pair great with the off-road and adventure lifestyle. Use code FRN and get 10% off your first order.
We got some listener feedback after hearing about my Achilles injury there last week. Corey H wrote in, just the thought I'd pass along that my wife tore her Achilles tendon in her sleep about 15 years ago. So Ben's not the only person. And then someone within our trio here, Aaron, responded, "Don't stick up for Ben." So
yeah, we had enough of that.
Yeah.
Ben is here only for our amusement, so don't think there's anything else to it.
There was somebody that was on Ultimate Adventure when I was looking through the pictures that was also Corey H, wasn't there?
We have Corey Holmes. Yes, Corey Holmes is one of our.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's the same one.
Scout driver.
That'd be fun.
That'd be cool.
Interesting. Yeah.
We've also
if this isn't the same Corey, he's also probably a good dude, even though he was sticking up for Ben.
Maybe.
It was awful nice of him to do that. Yeah.
We all make mistakes every now and then.
Yes. So we've also got another giveaway coming up. We're gonna do it for our Christmas wish list episode. So write into us with something that you would want on your off-road Christmas list. So, every year we do different price categories. So it won't matter what price it is. Write into us with an item that you would want on your Christmas list. And we'll be reading them on the air when we do our gift exchange episode on November 20th. And then we're going to pick some people at random. We've got some stuff from Warren to give away, Colby Valve, Patriot Patch, and we're hoping to hear back from another sponsor soon to add some more flavor to the giveaway. So start writing into us. If you write into somewhere where it's got a screen name, make sure you use your real name so we can call you out by your real name so that when you win your prize. So reach out. Let us.
If you use like Messenger or something, add your email in it too, just so it makes it easier for when I go to send you information.
Honestly, the best way would just to reach out to us at offroadpodcast@gmail.com.
That'd be too easy though, right?
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
Here's the patch for this month, and then and we still got our patches. If you guys are interested in those, you know how to reach out by now. I'd hope so, right?
Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered. Ever have a valve stem leak? Colby Valve makes reusable and easily replaceable valve stems that don't require you to remove your tire from the wheel. They work with your off-road rig, ATV, side-by-side, commuter vehicle, or even your tractor. Never be left stranded again because of a busted valve stem. They also have a tire repair kit for those punctures that keep you away from doing your favorite thing, wheeling. Make sure to check out colbyvalve.com or ask for them at your local off-road products store.
Just before we get started, I love this comment right here. Someone needs to stick up for me. I mean, not me, but somebody. And when I say me, Ben.
I'm going to dip into the main topic here real quick before we get to the news. We just had that Colby Valve sponsor plug. Has anybody used a Colby Valve on Ultimate Adventure?
I just
did this year.
Boom. Oh, right on. That's awesome.
Yeah, Christian decided to take turn hard left passenger tire in front of like about a 400-pound log and just push it up the trail about 15 feet. And
it's doing a public service for those behind me,
I guess. But what it did two things. It ripped the valve stem out of the wheel, and then it also actually unlocked the hub. I thought we broke a hub too, or a joint.
Oh, wow.
It actually unlocked the hub. And yes, that one of those externally, I can't guarantee that it was a Colby Valve brand, but it was one of those type of products that actually got us back up and running. I thought we'd ripped the tire to shreds.
Yeah, super handy though, because when you're like hub deep in mud, the last thing you want to do is break down your tire bead or open up your bead lock to throw a new valve stem in. So that was we were just a couple minutes, and then we were motoring on down the trail. But when you've got 27 people behind you, you don't want to be that guy.
There's a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to How long did it take you to realize that you had unlocked the hub as opposed to not broken a hub?
Well, we were kind of in the middle of the trail, and so there was about 20 yards ahead, a little spot, and so we just winched it forward to get to that spot to investigate. So it was really tight. We were in, I think, West Virginia, weren't we, Trent?
Yeah.
So slicks. It was dirty, muddy. People are getting attacked by bees and stinging insects all over the place. So we're just
separate thing.
Get out of everyone's way. We'll deal with it. But then it's like, oh, hey, it's just a 2-minute fix. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound at all like that Country Road, West Virginia song. It made it sound a lot better.
John Denver's
all the bees and sticks.
Quite a bit, right?
Yeah. All right, guys, let's jump into our news here. This article we ripped off from Motor Trend. It is EPA lowers scrutiny of defeat devices. As the well-abused news phrase goes, in a dramatic turn of events, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, as we all call them, released its final...
That's not what a lot of people call them.
No.
I've got bad names for them.
I was going to say, officially, we call it that. Right?
That's the official name. Yeah,
they have nicknames. The Fun Police released its final national enforcement and compliance initiative for 2024 through 2027, outlining the agency's top enforcement policies for the coming years. And noticeably absent from the 3-year plan is stopping aftermarket defeat devices for vehicles and engines as a top-level priority. And what are defeat devices? They're the aftermarket parts and or software, such as modifying exhausts and chip tuning products and services that inhibit or bypass the vehicle's emission controls. Now, enforcement of the aftermarket parts is once again a standard core importance, but it has been, as it had been for many years until 2020. The change is a testament to the efforts of popular aftermarket performance companies, SEMA and SEMA Garage to develop products that meet emission standards set by the California Air Resources Boards. We call them CARB and other names. Although this is great news for the makers of aftermarket ECM tuning devices and businesses, especially in the diesel segment of the aftermarket performance industry, it does not suggest or mean that the EPA now is completely turning its back to technologies that are not compliant with CARB emission standards. They're definitely still watching, but apparently it will not be at a level that brings about the shop raids and fines that have occurred in the recent years. And for those who still don't quite get it, setting up diesel rigs to roll coal will forever be a huge no-no. The SEMA president and CEO, Mike, I don't know how to say his last name.
Oh, it's Spagnola. Spagnola is his name. He's actually a very nice guy.
I was gonna go Spagnola, but it felt like I was gonna butcher it somehow. The
Great
EPA,
guy, by the way.
He says the EPA's decision to remove enforcement against the aftermarket products from the NECI and return it to a standard priority is a recognition of our industry's commitment to emissions compliance and the progress we've made.
That was a lot of words. In fact, it was so many that your video just caught up with everything you just said.
Yeah. For a hole in time.
That's good news. I feel like it's good news because I've just heard a lot of talk about how much they've hammered down on those businesses who do the diesel tuning and things like that. I talked about 6 months ago, I couldn't find an exhaust shop to touch my truck locally because it didn't have catalytic converters. And even if it was on their property not being worked on, they could be fined $10,000. So, that's good because it's a little frustrating, especially when some of the stuff that people do are putting out cleaner emissions than what the vehicle had prior to that.
Not me, but other people, I'm sure.
Other people, sure.
There are those people that do that. And the EPA went after, there was like a big story about a while back. They got somebody out of like a Facebook ad for his truck. And he ended
That's right.
up or something.
Yeah, that was really messed up. So that guy was selling this truck. He didn't modify it. He bought it that way. They said you can't sell it. You have to either put it back to normal or you have to crush it. And he said, no, I'll just keep it and drive it off-road only. And they're like, no, you can't even do that. So he had his truck destroyed, I think.
That doesn't sound right.
No. Not
Can
cool.
you just imagine being that EPA agent that just goes through Facebook Marketplace and looks for modified diesel trucks? Like,
I'm sure it's some program that scrapes it and notifies them.
Well, the person who checks on it probably drives a Prius.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Well,
I can have the job of you just scrub Facebook. I just be on Facebook Marketplace. I don't have time for this project. I think I have to buy it though. It's a deal. Like,
I can tell you as somebody that has worked for different performance companies within the aftermarket, especially as it relates to EPA. It's a real pain in the butt, and this is kind of a win. I mean, what they're saying, and which is true, is that there's a lot of self-policing going on, which is good. Which is not to say that your huge diesel tuners and stuff like that are completely off the hook, but what it does do is say that SEMA and just the aftermarket as a whole have done a lot to kind of clean things up, and rightfully so, and make it easier to actually modify your car, which is what the goal is, which is great. So I think it's great.
Yeah. Let's get away from that and let's talk about something that some people won't care anything about and other people think is awesome. So this article is from Inside EVs, and it was that 2 Tesla Cybertrucks were spotted testing at the NorCal Off-Road Park. So Christian's already rolling his eyes. I can see.
No, I'm not rolling my eyes. I was nodding in acknowledgement.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I don't have a problem with those for some reason. You know what? Because although it's EV, it's so bombastic and over the top, and just like it literally is. It's a rolling doorstop. I mean, how can you not appreciate that on some level? So, yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah. So a couple of Tesla Cybertrucks were driven from Texas all the way to California so that they could roll around in the Northern California area at the Hollister Hills State Vehicular Recreational Area, which
Christian's very familiar with that venue, by the way.
Former location of Top Truck Challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Through the tank trap. We'll see how they do.
It says an off-road enthusiast who goes by the name of Muddy Ruts, there's 2 Z's there, Muddy Ruts, on YouTube, was very impressed to see the Cybertrucks up close and personal, despite the fact he describes himself as a Jeep guy and a diesel guy. He filmed some video on site, and it shows both vehicles with their air suspension in the highest setting. It says it's got lots of ride height and a good approach and departure angles for a truck of its size. It's really hard to know what a truck of its size is because I've never seen it next to anything. I don't know if it's F-250 size or if it's Toyota Tacoma size or somewhere in between. I don't really actually know.
Hopefully we'll see one at SEMA.
Yeah, that'd be great. When the Rivians first came out, the pictures, I thought they were going to be a F-150 size truck, but they're more of a mid-size, like
Colorado.
Maybe they aren't huge, and they look bigger in the pictures, I guess. So I still don't know what a truck of its size is.
I think they're pretty big.
Okay. Let's see here. It says that the engineers demonstrated the Cybertruck's air suspension for him. And he said that it was a huge difference between the lowest and highest settings. The vehicles were equipped with 20-inch wheels and all-terrain tires. The footage also shows one of the electric trucks climbing a hill and driving on a road, catching a glimpse of the rear wheel steer system in action. So that's something I didn't know. I didn't realize that they had rear wheel steer. The video uploader claimed that the Tesla engineers who were testing the trucks were very friendly and answered all of his questions, which is pretty cool because usually those kind of guys are very tight-lipped, as Coy found out when he was in Moab with some Nissan guys. Let's see here. And then there was a Tesla Model X apparently that was on site, and they were using that that had satellite communication with their headquarters, and they were like beaming the information from whatever they were receiving back to Elon. So anyways, kind of cool to see him out there.
First of all, Aaron, allegedly Nissan engineers. I never said who it was. It could have been Nissan.
Well, you said they were stuck, so more than likely it was Nissan, right?
Oof.
Ouch. Have you guys seen the whole write-up about these Cybertrucks being developed for a civil war?
No.
They got bulletproof glass. They're made out of stainless steel. They have self-recharging solar panel. It's like a whole conspiracy theory that Elon's going to take over with his Cybertruck army.
I guess
I'm
I'm going to
hack
get
your
one.
Twitter and control.
I'm ready.
Go prepared with Warren Industries.
Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was just going to say I did see one of those Rivian's trucks at a recent event, and they put it on an RTI ramp, and it was thoroughly unimpressive. I'll just say that.
Unimpressive. Interesting.
Unimpressive.
I've driven Rivians, and the power is addictive. I'll give them that. I mean, they're a hoot.
Yeah.
You know, and a fairly nicely pointed interior and stuff like that. Little anecdote, like everything inside a Rivian is electric. You know, you go to move the air vent to redirect the air vent, and you have to like hit a slider on the dash. I didn't know that, and I just went whomp and broke the effing thing. But
Good.
But
Good. I mean,
they're
that's
not a
product
badly,
testing, in my opinion.
yeah. You would think though, for an electric vehicle, you would want to save as much electric usage as possible to like let you get a little further down the road.
Yeah.
For me, that's the thing about an EV. Like, it's just that pressure of how much range do I have, and you know, never knowing if you're going to be able to make it to where you're going. You know, that anxiety.
Is that charger still working at my goal for, you know, at Chiriaco Summit or something like that?
Yeah.
Especially with all the new.
No, I'm not surprised that it had problems on an RTI ramp since it's a Rivian RT1. So I'm assuming that just means it gets a 1.
Oh, that's a terrible joke.
Terrible.
That was a terrible joke.
It's pretty bad.
We're docking your
tried.
Yeah.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
All right, Trent, I got to clear something up before we jump into the main topic, which you've already jumped into the main topic a couple times tonight. I failed to ask this question last time you were on the show. You had mentioned that you have traveled to 49 of the 50 states.
48.
I didn't listen very well when you said 49 and you actually said 48. What are those 1 or 2 states that you haven't been to?
There are 2. There are Hawaii, which we're probably not going to be able to knock off the list without a lot of work. And the other one is, believe it or not, Rhode Island. We have not been to Rhode Island yet. Not wheeled in Rhode Island.
I don't think we rolled through there.
We went through Delaware, but I'm not sure about Rhode Island.
Yeah, it doesn't count. As unimpressive as
biggest little state in the union.
Yeah. You'd say you could turn your headlights on one side of Rhode Island and illuminate the other side.
So
Christian's an East Coaster.
Those 48 states then are the states that you've been to with UA then?
Yeah,
That is
the
correct.
event has been there and has done trail systems within those states.
Gotcha. Wow.
That is correct.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about, oh no, this is a question for later, so I won't spoil it now.
All right. Well, let's work on that. Christian, first time on, we've got to do the fast 5 facts for you. New or old vehicles?
Generally old.
Summer or winter camping?
Oh, summer.
Rock, sand, snow, or mud?
I'm a rock guy.
Favorite vehicle brand?
Oh man, I really don't have one. Okay, I'm not just saying that, but if I had to just gun to my head, I would say Jeep.
Favorite tire?
BFG crawler. Yeah, BFG crawler.
And then you are the perfect person for this question. Any recommendations for someone new to off-roading?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Any recommendations for someone new to off-roading?
Just go do what you can do at your own level and go at your own pace and learn what you learn. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and have fun. We do this because it's fun. That's the most important thing. Go have fun.
Nice.
I like Badland Industries comment here. He says there's likely OHV parks bigger than Rhode Island.
It's quite possible Windrock, which
I'm not
is something
dissing
like
Rhode Island because I'm a New England boy.
50,000
and
acres. Yeah. Windrock is huge in Tennessee.
Yeah, like say Sand Hollow, you might be able to fit Rhode Island pretty closely. But yeah, Rhode Island's good times. I'm a fan of the state. Open up an off-road park, Rhode Island. We're waiting for you.
Good luck with that.
Let's just make Rhode Island an off-road park. I mean,
Rhode Island's like the rebel in New England. They're like, yeah, we're not going to go along with your program, so they're okay.
So there's a good chance they would build an off-road park out of the whole state.
Yeah, just to stick it to Massachusetts.
Do it.
All right, let's jump in to Ultimate Adventure here. First of all, guys, just not for me, but for Ben, what is Ultimate Adventure?
Christian, why don't you take that one?
UA is the textbook answer. It is the world's longest running, best known off-road enthusiast experiential event of its kind. But really what it is back in 1999, the editor of Four Wheel and Off-Road, Cole Quinnell, decided, hey, why don't I just get a bunch of our buddies together and we'll go do an off-road trip and we'll go hit a bunch of trails, but we're not going to trailer in between, and we're just going to drive from one trail system to the next and just go have an off-road, bacchanal for a week. And so it's kind of grown and evolved from there to what it is today. But we do about 1,000 miles in total, generally speaking. No trailers are allowed, and you're doing just the most insane off-roading one afternoon, and then that evening you're driving 70 miles an hour on the highway for 400 miles to get to the next spot. So it's really it's one of those things where you've got to be able to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
When you say no trailers are allowed, you mean you can't pull a trailer also in addition?
Yeah,
you can't
we kind of that's not specifically in the rules, but yeah, it's just your 4x4 vehicle, like a trailer. Given the nature of the trail systems we're encountering, and it's just logistically complex. I know there are people out there who can off-road a trailer better than many can wheel just their vehicle, but it's just four tires, 2 lockers, a winch, 35-inch tires or bigger, a roll cage, and a few other tidbits, and that's the vehicle rule book.
It would be really hard not to destroy a trailer on Ultimate Adventure, I would have to say. If you were trailering a trailer to like camp out of or whatever, it would be very, very difficult to do.
Plus, why do you need that much stuff? Really?
Yeah, just lighten up.
True.
Yeah.
It's mostly just a flex on the pores.
It would definitely be a flex.
Yeah.
Is there winners to this event? It is
not a competition. If anything, it is a team building exercise where, we're out there to help each other and lift each other up and support each other. It sounds super, super corny, but you really go in as individuals, and you come out as family. UA alumni are a very select breed, but those who've been privileged enough to go on the event kind of know what it is and how special it is. You're out there in the dirt, surviving day in, day out with these guys, and we lean on each other. We've got just the best group of support staff we call the cronies. And these are guys who drop their, shut their businesses up and come help the event. The sponsors we have are they're the race on Sunday, sell on Monday types, where they're actually out there using and thrashing on the products they're selling you. And then the invited readers, they're just, it's a scary thing to drop what you're doing and go to a predetermined location where you're signing up for UA. You don't know where I'm going to tell you have to report. Yeah, it might be Alaska. Hey, get your stuff to Wasilla, Alaska. People's jaws dropped when I told them that. But, just that level of acceptance to just go be part of some kind of adventure. That's the big selling point for this whole thing. You're in it 100%, or, give your spot to someone else.
Yeah, it's so rule number 1 of Ultimate Adventure is no whining. That's rule number 1. And then rule number 2 is we are not here to support you. We will do everything we can for you, but you are supposed to be self-sufficient. That means all your spare parts, your tools, your food, everything you need to live out of your rig for a week. That's you show up, and like Christian said, you don't where it's going to, later on, where it's going to start, where it's going to end, and you don't know anything in between. Nice. And it's actually part of the fun. So
I just thought of this question you're talking about. How much, when you say, hey, be in Alaska, how much time before they have to be in Alaska do you tell them this?
Well, for that particular one, I think I gave them about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months, just because of the logistics. But in like this year, for example, I think it was 6 weeks where I told them, hey, Blairsville, Pennsylvania this year, don't tell anyone, be there. So yeah, anywhere from about 8 to 6 weeks is the general window you have. The invited readers will know they're going to be part of the event. Generally speaking, about 8 to 9 weeks ahead of time, sometimes a little longer. But it's pretty much, if you're going to enter to be a part of this event, you really need to mean it. It's generally speaking, that's what we get. We get people who are really gung ho and all in for it. And I don't think in the 8 years I've been running it, I've had anyone tell me no. And nice. I've really not had to go to an alternate.
Yeah, who'd want to turn down that experience?
Right.
So
we're going to get another chance.
You said 1999, right?
Yeah, 99 was the first one, and it wasn't a sponsored event the way it is now. It was I was a brand new FNG feature editor for Four Wheel and Off Road. Trent was marketing manager for
jaded X magazine guy.
Yeah, he was all crusty and angry, and I was like the new guy, like, wow, this is awesome. But yeah, we met in Apache Junction, Arizona, and hit Woodpecker Trail, I think it was.
So, yeah, Woodpecker is now, but yeah.
About 130 degrees. But yeah, it was yeah, and that first one, that was just, it was rad. I mean, it was by today's standards, the wheeling was probably fairly mild. We had a lot of vehicles. I don't think we had some with 33-inch tires. We didn't have the front and rear locker roll. A lot of what ultimately became the Ultimate Adventure vehicle requirements and rule set came out of that first event. And things that kind of held us up or impeded the flow and stuff like that. So it was a pretty quick, very steep learning curve. And we didn't do one in 2000. And then in 2001, our publisher at Peterson Publishing, Jim Ryan, decided to make it an official event, and we sold sponsorships. Skyjacker came in as the official suspension. Warren was the official winch. BFG, I think, was the tire. Yeah.
Maybe even title.
Yeah. And then we just, and it grew from there. I remember on the third Ultimate Adventure, BFG showing up with their 18-wheel trailer and the new crawler carcass before the crawler actually had the form it has now, where they had, it was almost like a rudimentary mold of it, and they would groove whatever tread pattern you thought might work well. So they were doing custom grooving there, and we were testing it.
Whoa.
Nice.
That's rad.
The crawler came out. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
So have you guys been to all of them then?
No. Trent and Tom Boyd are the only two who have been on every Ultimate Adventure. I was on the first 3, and then I went to work at JP Magazine. And then I came back in 2016 when I became the editor of Four Wheel and Off Road, and I started running the event. But Trent and Tom.
So where do you guys hold Ultimate Adventure?
It's in a. I'll take this one, Christian, if you don't mind. It's in a different place every year. We've only visited one place twice, and that is the Rubicon. And if you are going to visit one place twice, that's not a bad one. It's the granddaddy of all off-road trails. But no, we have never visited the same place twice. We are always in a different region, different. I mean, it's the lower 48 or however we can do. So yeah, it's in a different place every year.
Nice. You mentioned doing 400 miles after wheeling. Was there any year that all the trails were really close together, or were in any where they were super far apart?
It varies year by year. I mean, yes, we have had a 600 and something mile road day on Ultimate Adventure, and that's just what it took to get from one place to the other. This year is actually one of the shorter ones. We were actually physically fairly close together in terms of this, but this year I think was a mere 875 miles instead of being 1,500 plus. So, and even then, where we were it was not, you felt like you did about 1,500 miles or whatever, because there was no such thing as a straight or flat road there. I mean, it's just all, and we do, we're not pounding down the interstate unless we absolutely have to. It's usually a lot of secondary roads, 2 lanes.
Okay.
More scenic, the better. So
yeah, that's kind of the hallmark of Ultimate Adventure, along with high level wheeling and what it is we do. It's the scenic byways, the bucket list side trips. Going under the New River Gorge this year. Trent is amazing at finding little points of interest and scenic routes and things like that. That's really one of his key strengths in being a partner in this event. Going up to the top of Mount Washington in the past, or to the most remote place in the lower 48 and looking at the Grand Canyon and the Colorado River from below and stuff like that, where you want to sit in your rocking chair and tell people, I went on this trip and here's what I did. That's what we try to do every year, is give someone something of that.
Yeah, and there's an element there too where it's not just about the four-wheeling. We usually try and inject something else. Maybe it's an Army surplus store, maybe it's a cave. This year, we went to the Flight 93 Memorial because we were right there. That was a bit unusual, but we visited distilleries, maple syrup factories. You name it. We do. We try and inject something unique, something you wouldn't ordinarily do.
Aerodrome was cool, and
the aerodrome.
Yeah, old World War I aerodrome, or just cool old vintage Americana museums like in Montana or Alaska. Trent's great at finding that stuff.
I try and find something that's kind of mechanically oriented, because at the end of the day, everybody there is mechanically inclined in some way or another, and therefore by default, it interests them or whatever. but that's not always the case. Like I said, caves, an insane asylum, an old prison, you name it. So
didn't you guys have everyone bring kayaks one year?
we did. That was 2015. And that was the summer camp year. And actually, ironically, we all brought kayaks. The one day that it didn't rain, and I mean torrentially rain that entire week, we climbed into canoes and proceeded to knock each other over in a lake for a couple hours. Yeah. So yeah, and as one of the other cronies said after the fact, it was like, I cannot believe, he's from Alabama. He's like, I cannot believe the whole week we did not see one canoe skittering itself down the highway. It's true. We didn't lose a single canoe.
That's because somebody pulled on that strap, twang, and said, "That's not going anywhere."
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, exactly. But fairly miraculous, regardless.
Have they always been in the U.S.?
No.
Like you've ventured into California.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. That's fair play, man.
Mexico or Canada is what I was trying to
Canada.
say.
We've not done Mexico.
That was a
I'm working.
deep burn.
I'm working hard on Christian on Mexico, but I'm not sure I'm gonna get him to budge. I would love to go to Baja, but yeah, we've been to.
I've got corporate restrictions and
Yeah,
considerations I need to keep. That's kind of the division of powers here. Like Trent is the director, he'd love to go on location here or here, and I'm the producer, and I'm like, oh man.
Insurance.
But we have been to Canada just once.
Vancouver.
They were really friendly.
Yeah, Vancouver Island. They're very friendly.
2002.
Actually, believe it or
2001.
not,
Sorry.
2001. Yeah, believe it or not, where we were was in a really bad part of town, and we actually ended up hiring security to watch over the rigs. Believe it or not, in Canada.
For
Yeah.
Canada.
It was a really bad.
But they're
part
the
of town.
nicest thieves.
They apologize as they.
Hey pal, I'm taking your tires.
Sorry. Yeah.
They only steal your spare tire. They don't just leave it on blocks. Yeah.
Does everyone have to run the same tire?
No. There's no requirement to utilize the sponsor products, like in some motorsports events. Like I said, it's not a competition. You run what you brung. Sometimes the sponsors will make available at a free or reduced cost, products, but it's by no means a requirement.
Well, $350 is always everyone's favorite price, right?
You touched on them. You touched on them a couple minutes back, but can you tell us the quick overview of the requirements of the vehicle?
Oh yeah. When we started the vehicle requirements, it was fairly exotic components, and now I think a dead stock Wrangler Rubicon. What is the one that comes with 35s? I can't remember off the top of my head the package, but so basically it's front and rear lockers, 35-inch tires or bigger, a front winch, roll cage. We have some other event specific requirements like a VHF radio with certain frequencies that we utilize for communications, a spill kit. What am I forgetting, Trent?
First aid kit.
Yeah, minor stuff.
Tow
like
hooks front and back. I mean, it's not super exotic. I mean, you pretty much just about probably everybody that's listening here. Fire extinguisher.
Yeah,
is
fire
one
extinguisher.
Of them. Current license registration. Yeah. It's mostly common sense stuff.
One of the most frequent questions I get is, what are the roll cage requirements even? So we have a roll cage requirement, but there are no specific requirements. So what I tell people is that varies on a case-by-case basis. So if you're trying to field a 9,000-pound full-size pickup truck and all you have is a B-pillar hoop, that ain't going to cut it, But if you have a 3,000-pound Toyota, and you do have like a B-pillar hoop with some down bars, and then it's tied to the frame, and so basically what we're looking for is if you do a unintentional barrel roll or an intentional barrel roll, your skull's not going to get crushed. Yeah, so it's common sense. It's
I mean,
it's a recreational thing.
I couldn't count on two hands the number of cars we've turned over on UA. I mean, it's legit wheeling. So I mean, it's not a joke. Like the requirements are really the bare minimum. Probably should be more than what they are. But yeah, I mean, we've turned over a bunch of cars. We've broken a lot of stuff over the years.
It also, like, speaking of that roll cage requirement, like it will increase or decrease in severity depending on the terrain. We know, Trent and I know, that we're going to be hitting. So, if we know we're going to Farmington and there's a lot of big ledges and steep drop offs or something like that, okay, we're going to up it. But if we're, going to be relative, like Alaska
was pretty mild.
The wheeling in Alaska was not technically difficult. It was just epically rewarding.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a great question.
Yeah. In the comments, Eric is asking what the attrition rate of the rigs is on average.
It's gotten a lot better. I think as bigger parts have become available and more readily available as well. I feel like, we're wheeling harder than we were 15 years ago for sure.
Yeah.
You can pretty much, you're going to experience some kind of breakdown on UA. And if you don't, that's a huge win. The severity or is it 75% or 50%? I want to say it's been 40 to 50%, not permanent attrition, but like major breakdown. In the early years, and now I'm going to say 80, 85, a big break that you've got to fix. So, I mean, it's very, very, very unusual that somebody that doesn't start the event doesn't finish it. That's exceptionally rare. We're all there to help one another, and we will do what we can and red label parts or whatever we can. I mean, just to kind of give you guys an idea, I think the record is 9 ring and pinion swaps in a parking lot of a hotel or a campground in 1 year. So, I mean, we've changed. There is no major component of a vehicle that we have not changed on a UA. That includes engines, transmissions, transfer cases, axles for days, ring and pinions for days, drive shafts by the hundreds, over the years. I mean,
Sure.
But like Trent said, in general, it's very uncommon that someone just completely taps out and, like, on day 3 of 7, like, I'm out.
I can only think of one that's ever done that.
Yeah, me too. We even had one in 2001. We had a very severe rollover, which totaled the vehicle, and he went and he bought another vehicle, and he wasn't able to do the trails, but he followed us the rest of the event.
I forgot about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's epic.
Josh in the questions is asking how many people typically apply each year to go on Ultimate Adventure.
I'll get on average about maybe 200 applications. Of those, I'll weed them down to like maybe 75 to 80 that I feel are serious contenders. And then from there, they get further whittled down to the dirty dozen. So we'll pick like 13 finalists. And then those are usually the 13 that I'll actually pick up the phone and do kind of like an interview call, just kind of suss them out, see where their personality's at, if they're a good fit for the event and what we do. Then, how many of those 13 get selected? It really depends on how many sponsors we have going that year, how much room we have on the trails, et cetera, et cetera. I always prefer to invite more, as many as possible. So this year was a big year. We had 5 invited readers and 1 returning reader. And then we had, I think, 28 vehicles this year and about 60-ish people, which when you're dealing with these hardcore trail systems, that's really the max you can push through in one day without separating the groups, which creates its own host of logistical issues with video and photography and then just people wanting to wheel as a group too. So yeah, I think about 27, 28 vehicles is the max we're able to really comfortably accommodate.
Yeah, and it's not the selection process is not at all democratic whatsoever. So there's Christian gets the, he kind of separates the wheat from the chaff and then narrows it down even further. And then there's kind of a relatively informal selection committee, after the interview process. And the interview process is very important, because it's always been surprising to me how many people will apply and they're like, you can just tell by the rigs, like, you don't really have any idea what you're getting into right now, there's kind of a vetting process to it. And it's not about like, are you worthy? It's more like, are you going to be able to survive the trip? Do you have the wherewithal and gumption and stuff? And that's a lot of what that interview process is about.
And the positive attitude, really.
Yeah. And the positive attitude. Yeah. Rule number
one.
You
can't have someone who's going to throw their hands up and just like melt down like a toddler on the trail. You just, that doesn't work.
I scratched my rig. How dare you?
Yeah. There's some of that too. Yeah.
or break their vehicle and just look around and expect somebody to show up, like a Formula One pit crew and try and fix it. No, you get out your tools and fix it. So
how do you go about picking the route, the off-road areas, and all the stops and stuff you do?
It started out a little more collaborative, and lately Trent,
Trent's hogging it.
I just say, Trent, here's where I think we should go this year, and it really is very much a partnership. I was thinking about it the other day, how I can really equate this, and it really, the only analogy I can draw for it is like Trent's the director and I'm the producer. If it were a major movie thing, the director comes to the producer and says, I want to shoot in here and here and here. And so that's kind of where we've landed. Trent, I just can't speak highly enough about the job he does, making this event what it is. I don't toot my own horn, but what I will acknowledge is that my strength is finding good people and then letting them go do what they're good at. And for that, it's Trent planning the route, but we try not to, like Trent said, we don't try to cover the same ground. And I'll let Trent, how do you do it, man?
So, basically the way it's worked for the last several years, and I should say, prior to kind of the changing of the guard and Christian coming aboard and being in charge of the event, there was Rick Payway was involved with it for many, many, many years. And really in many ways, Payway is responsible for creating the template that Ultimate Adventure has become and setting the pace, so to speak. And so I can't, Payway has really contributed a lot to this event and was a key component of its success, throughout the years. When there was a changing of the guard and Christian came back in charge, or became the guy, so to speak, I got this phone call and he's like, hey, my wife's kind of pregnant and I, and I don't have the time to devote. And so he, basically said, I think you'd be great at it. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it a whirl. And I did such a terrible job. I've been doing it ever since. So,
I took over 2016, and when I took over the event, Fred Williams had been the editor of Four Wheel and Off Road, and I was the editor of Four Wheeler. And I had Top Truck Challenge, and I had my own circus of monkeys to deal with. And when I became editor of Four Wheel and Off Road, it was about 6.5 weeks before UA. And so I went to Fred and I said, okay, where are we on Ultimate Adventure? And he said, I haven't done anything. Good luck, buddy. So it was panic mode. So 2016 happened very, very quickly. it went off very well, I think. But during the event, there was this little voice in the radio coming from the back of the pack, and it was always Trent, just very politely, shouldn't we, just kind of gently nudging me in the right directions. And that was very telling immediately. Trent and I have been friends for 20 years prior to that. But, it's just, it became very clear very fast that this guy really knows what needs to happen to make this event run smoothly and in a fashion that is, good for all parties involved. So right there, it's like, yeah, when 2017 came around, I'm like, this is my guy.
It's good enough that you listen to them there. It helps, it's, I've been in groups where like people don't want to listen to people at the back of the pack. It's like, hey, shouldn't we be trying to do this too? It helps.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest success, one of the biggest keys to success on UA is like being able to set your ego aside. And that's, asking for a spot, asking for help if you're in over your head, or for me, even, I don't need to be the guy coming up with all the everything, it's like my job is to make it a successful event. And I don't care if I'm not the one, who's doing the planning, that if I'm handing that over to Trent and say, hey, make magic, buddy. As long as at the end of the day, everyone is walking away thrilled about what we've done and the route we've taken and the trails we've hit. And year over year, our goal, Trent and I, is to do better, to eclipse the year before. And I think more or less we've been nailing it. So
yeah, well, we in terms of like the nuts and bolts, if that's what you're really after, what we'll do is, Christian and I will convene. He typically will circle a spot on the map, or we'll collaborate and, circle a spot on the map. And then he's just like, go. And then what I'll typically do is first spend a bunch of time on the internet figuring out any more where we haven't been. That's step one. And then cool stuff to go do. And, granted, I'm from the Southwest, so it's not like I'm intimately familiar with West Virginia or Pennsylvania or anything else. So, they do a lot of research there. Sometimes I will reach out to somebody that I trust that can keep things quiet and just pick their brain, fortunately, because we've wheeled 48 out of 50 states, I've got contacts, all over the place, and I'll work some of those. And then from there, it's just about, I'll typically do like 2 pre-runs. The first one, which is, it sounds odd, but it's as much about figuring out where you don't want to go as much as you do. And so like this year, for example, Indiana was going to be part of the equation. And I actually spent a fair amount of time in Indiana. And for reasons that aren't worth really getting into or whatever, it didn't work. And so sometimes it is physical distances. Sometimes it is timing. There's an event at this venue. There's been at least twice now. I've turned the entire trip around where I was going to start and where we're going to end reversed because the venue had some other event going on. And so you have to kind of build that in. And so the first one is as much about that as anything else. And then the second one is really more about the actual route. I'll do a bunch of scouting for the route, but I'm finalizing it. I've used a few different mapping softwares over the years. The last several we've used Onyx, which is great. Onyx is a very powerful tool, and I will use that to finalize the route. We do it, all the little BS stuff like, where are we going to get gas? Are there enough pumps to accommodate 28 cars at this particular gas stop? Where are we going to get food and for camp nights and things like that? And so that's where all that other stuff gets filled in. So that's kind of the brief overview. I should also say that, what's awesome is that while I'm on the ground just strictly figuring out where we're going to do, how we're going to get there, what based on the sundial and my own dead reckoning, how long it's going to take to get there or whatever. Christian's very much behind the scenes dealing with sponsors and t-shirts and all the other minutia that's involved with the myriad of other things that it takes to make this event a success. And so he's very much like the guy behind the curtain, and he's very much the guy that is the glue that kind of holds this whole thing together. And so what's nice about that is it allows me to just not focus on that minutia. I can focus on what is going to be the best, coolest, baddest, assest route out there, and that's what I can focus on.
The fun stuff.
So I actually just thought of this question since we talked about like interviewing and getting the right guys with the right attitude. Are they allowed to bring like a co-driver with them?
Yeah, it is. When you're invited on Ultimate Adventure, it is you, your vehicle, and one co-driver.
So
and,
do you interview the co-driver?
Sometimes I'll ask, like, "Oh, do you have a co-driver in mind?" But generally speaking, I leave that up to the person. I've found that with few exceptions, if they are the type of person who kind of gels with me and what I feel is good for the event, they're going to make good decisions in terms not only of vehicle selection, driving, all that stuff, but in terms of their friends and their co-driver too. So, and a lot of times it's a spouse or a close childhood friend.
Have you guys like started saving any GPX files of these routes? Because it'd be kind of cool to be like, hey, have you done UA route number? Like, I feel like you could sell these, In
theory, Onyx should have those since they've been a sponsor in 20. When did they come in? 19 or 20?
18, I think. 18.
I should know that, but in theory, they should have some of those files that you should be able to download if you have the Onyx Off-Road app.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that was the initial plan, is that they would publish the route or whatever. And we always try. I try very, very hard to make it something where anybody can replicate, to where it's not like, hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We've got this hookup with this private piece of property or whatever.
We have a couple of those.
We have a couple of those, and unfortunately, you just can't get around it in some cases, especially in the Northeast. To where, but I personally try very hard to make it to where if I were to give you a GPX file, you guys could go replicate UA.
Yeah.
So
Onyx is 2020. I remember because it was Montana and they were from Montana. That if they have it, 2020 would be a good one to go replicate, especially if you're overlanding, because Trent was able to find some really cool. We hit an abandoned mine. We hit a.
Is that the one you can drive through?
No.
Oh, I'm thinking of the old train track thing that you can drive through in Montana.
Oh, we did that. The Comet.
We did that.
Yeah,
which is actually technically legally a little bit dubious, but we won't talk about that.
Oh,
I think you passed through a little brief spot of private property getting to it.
Yeah,
but it's like 8 feet of private property or something.
8 feet.
It was
something very small
enough to matter if they cared.
Yeah,
gotcha.
You got a shovel.
We're always respectful. We're good stewards of the land and all that. So we pass through one way, pass through the other. If we see trash, we're picking up more than,
So the responsible thing to do is actually dig a jump and then clear that 8 feet.
Yes.
Man, we got to invite you.
Using the airspace. There we
if
go.
You're corner hopping, that's the correct way is to jump.
I was going to say, if you've heard about the corner hopping, that's not even technically legal. Technically.
Yeah.
So, but there's actually a huge case in federal courts right now trying to clarify all that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Can someone watch or follow Ultimate Adventure as it's happening? Or do you have to wait till
not as it's happening? We actually, secrecy is a big part of the event, and again, going back to Rick Payway, he kind of instituted that and helped kind of propagate it. But it's something that has become sort of necessary for the success of the event, i.e., we're the circus and everyone kind of wants to come see the circus. But if they all figure out we're going to be at trail system X, Y, and Z, and then they get out there and they park the rigs in the trail and we show. So just in terms of trying to maintain our ability to flow through the areas we want to visit, we generally run a 24-hour delay on our social media, and we ask our participants to do the same. So what we'll tell them is, it's okay to post about where we are, but just wait till the day after. And so yeah, you can follow it along on social channels. Generally, it's hashtag UA and then the year. So this year it will be hashtag UA 2023. If you follow that on Instagram or look at it on Facebook or something like that, you'll see not only our internal stuff, but all the participants, anything they're posting. And then also we shoot and produce the Ultimate Adventure videos. We're going to do 5 long form videos of about 20 to 25 minutes. 5 and this year they are going to drop on Motor Trend's YouTube channel November 13th through 17th. So those are going to be the episodic videos.
Those are always fun to check out.
Yeah,
they are.
So this year, I think you guys had a guy with a Nissan truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Carl Suiting.
So I got to know, so that was a solid axle swap Nissan Frontier on 40-inch tires. I got to know, how did Carl do? Because I am the head Nissan numbskull of this podcast.
Carl did great. He bought that truck new. And this was all from the that vetting phone call that I do. He told me the story of how when he bought that thing brand new off the lot, he went and took it for a test drive and told the salesman, "I'm taking this thing off-roading." And the salesman kind of chuckled and said, "Yeah, sure, whatever, guy." And he came back 2 hours later with the thing caked in mud. And so, yeah, he's put every mile on that thing, and he's built it all. So he, that's important. You really get to know every nut and bolt of your own vehicle and its capabilities. And when you're, more importantly, when you're building something or making a modification, you're generally doing it for a reason. The only thing Carl did that kind of broke the golden rule of Ultimate Adventure was he made a major modification right before the event. So he put in a crawl box. He put in a 4-speed
Atlas 4-speed, yeah,
and just had a minor issue with it where he was hearing some planetary whine. He got it figured out, thankfully. Rig did great. He did great. He and his co-driver were awesome dudes, great to hang out with. And that thing was very, very capable. So
Carl. Carl did. He was one of those that started out pretty mild and everything, and as the week progressed, I think he got it. And he really started bringing it or whatever, and it was great to see it. It's great to see it happen. He ripped a brake line, I think
midweek.
Evening Ranch, midweek or whatever. Got over that. Somebody had one.
Skyjacker had a brake line that fitted his rear caliper.
Wow.
But yeah, he brought it. I mean, he didn't leave anything on the table for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, guys, story time. Tell us, each of you give us your most memorable or favorite time at Ultimate. Memorable. I went full bend there. Never go full bend.
You did. I was going to say, am I talking there?
Your most memorable time at Ultimate Adventure.
Oh, man. Trent, I'll let you go. You've done more of them than me. You go first, buddy.
Oh, boy. Let's see. Memorable time. Probably my favorite Ultimate Adventure is 2003. And we were in the Southeast. And that was mostly because there were a few guys that are now cronies that weren't cronies at the time. We started in Tellico, which you can't go wheeling around anymore. We went to a couple other places. We wheeled the heck out of our stuff, but it was a ton of fun. And actually that year Rick very uncharacteristically reached out to me and he flew out and we actually pre-ran the 03 event in my Blazer I had a 72 orange K5 Blazer that was on 36-inch swampers and Lockrights. And then we went to Hot Springs, which was kind of my home park, which was very cool at the time. I lived in Louisiana. And then it started snowing on the way up there. And then overnight, I guess everything just turned into a giant sheet of ice. And so I did
You said Louisiana?
I lived in Louisiana at the time, but yeah, we were in Arkansas. And Arkansas and Louisiana both get wicked ice storms, by the way.
Wow.
Not very often, but it does happen. And we ran the next day. We ran over 100 miles with 36-inch super swampers, locked front and rear, in 4-wheel drive, doing like 30 miles an hour and everything. And it was epic. It was amazing. So that's my favorite UA. I mean, there are so many UA stories. I couldn't even begin. But that, for me personally, and for completely selfish reasons, you know, I wasn't even a crony. The cronies didn't exist at the time. I was just an invited dude. But that's probably my favorite one. Christian?
Oh man, my favorite UA was 2018, just because, you know, I grew up more or less in New England, and that's where we held it. And so, you know, it was kind of cool taking all my off-road industry buddies, guys and girls, you know, to my old stomping grounds, top of Mount Washington. It's freezing. And after the year before, when it was like so hot they couldn't fly airplanes out of Phoenix, that was a nice change of pace. But I think like what usually sticks out in my mind with Ultimate Adventure is like the pranks we would do in the early days, like, you know, Rocky Mountain oysters in Trent's glove box that he didn't find for like 6 months later, or
nine months,
stuff like that. But I remember my boss, Cole Quinnell, he's the guy who actually started Ultimate Adventure. We built a flat fender for him called the 14-Day Flatty, and it was made to look like it had just been pulled out of a field. Like, it's not a gauge in the dash, no lights, no nothing. And we had gone to Walmart in town to get some pranks to, like, you know, sprinkle around the parking lot after hours. And so I'm riding shotgun in Cole's 380 horse flat fender, and Cole's an old drag racer, and we're at a light and a cop pulls up next to us, and I've got a bag in my lap with like an 8-foot long summer sausage cut, you know, and I won't say what we did with that, but and like a big trout pillow. It's like a big trout fish pillow, like 4 feet long. And I get all this weird stuff in my lap, and we're at a red light. And for some reason, Cole spikes the throttle and dumps the clutch, and we take off with one tire in the air and get lit up by that cop immediately. And he wasn't an American cop. He was from like France or something and had zero sense of humor. But the most striking thing was he just didn't care that I was holding all this weird stuff in my lap, that we're in this vehicle. It was just very straightforward, license and registration, and here's your ticket. And we're just looking at each other like, where are we, man? Did you not one question about like the two dirt bags in this abandoned military vehicle with, you know, summer sausage and fish? Like, what's going? Where are we?
So Josh in the comments wants to know if there's a way to stand out, to get picked out of the hundreds of entries you guys get.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Josh is also a Nissan guy.
Yeah, he's one of the Nissan people.
You know, and I hate to pick on one vehicle, but given the popularity of, like, say, the Wrangler JK and JL, if you're entering with, you know, a belly button Wrangler, just like all the other sponsors are going to be fielding to promote their products that they sell, you know, it's going to be hard. What I try to do is I try to create a balanced field that has something that appeals kind of to everybody. And so you don't have to enter with, like, you know, a clown car with a helicopter on the top, or, you know, just try to do something that's true to you, and that, you know, is true to you, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Because eventually your number is probably going to come up. If you don't get selected and you really want to be part of the event, apply again. And if you don't get selected, apply again. Johnny Wood, one of our invited readers, who came in 2018. When I finally selected him in 2018, I think it was his 4th or 6th year applying. And it's just the formula is different every year for what I'm looking to create. And it's just,
sure,
he just kept in it until it was right, And so,
and Derek
even
from
if
last
you
year
had that JK on 35s or 37s and just, and it's really something you think you want to do, keep applying. I'll see it. I'll notice. I know who's keeping their hat in the ring.
Well, remember Derek from last year? Is that
Derek
the
Lassini? Yeah. Another one.
He played, I think he went 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. And he just, eventually it was like, okay, it's this guy gets a shot, because I need a full size. I need this. This works for here. So you never know, man. Just keep at it. Have some faith and some patience, and if I make that call to you, be prepared.
Well, and the other thing is, like, I mean, think about it from a viewer standpoint. Would you like to see 25 JKs all in a row, or would you like to see something interesting, or a bunch of different cars and stuff?
Yeah.
So that's
or
what
the
it's all
JK,
about.
like what's
I already
special
feel like there's too many Jeeps, like because they all kind of blend together. I get
Believe it or not,
there's
we've had years where there's like 1 or 2 Jeeps on the entire event, and everything else is weird.
I was actually super stoked to see that you guys had a Dodge. I'm not sure if it was a Prospector or Plymouth Trail Duster.
Ram Charger, the Mam Charger.
Ram Charger. Okay.
It was a Mam. Coy, it was the Mam Charger.
Mam Charger. I've kind of have a thing for those, and they're like super. At least around here, they're super reasonably priced compared to like that style of Bronco or Blazer.
Oh, I got to come where you are and buy one then, because
it's the Dodge. It's the Dodge Blazer. It's the Dodge Blazer.
That Mam Charger. Blazer. That was Georgia Jackson. She was actually a co-driver last year, and her husband Tim's M715. That thing had a Magnum a 5.9 liter Magnum V8 with a carburetor. She ran a Q-Jet, an MP435 transmission, a Magnum doubler, and then 1-ton axles. And she drove everything with a carburetor that the fellers were driving with much smaller vehicles and injection, and she did awesome. So that thing was a hoot. They're fun people. And she makes cookies and gives them to all of us. So
there's that.
That helps.
Oh, cookies always helps.
Have you ever run into any problem with the locals causing issues with the event or anything other than maybe they have an event at the same time?
No, I mean, no. I mean, we pre-run everything pretty religiously, and so we're usually very aware of something else that's going on or whatever. The only time I can ever really remember it being an issue is when word gets out, which is again why we try and keep it quiet, and because then just a bunch of locals, very well-meaning locals that just want to be a part, want to check it out or whatever. But I mean, we even had a little bit of that this year at the last day, where it's just a bunch of local trail traffic and stuff like that. So anything we can do to kind of minimize that is good. But no, I mean, in terms of like, some guy with pitchforks, hey, get off my land or whatever, we know where we are, and we know that's usually not an issue, or hasn't been an issue. Let's put it that way. And we have all our permits and all that stuff too, usually.
Sure.
Almost all the time.
We had a Facebook user ask a very important question: is what kind of cookies?
This year it was what was it this year?
The peanut butter, the banana macadamia nut ones were pretty on point.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So yeah, those were pretty on point.
We had a nice local
question.
state police officer who swing by the parking lot when we were prepping on check-in day, and like he must have wound up leaving with like 4 or 5 bags of them.
Yeah. We got not one but two police escorts, the right kind, this year.
Yeah.
The right kind.
The right kind. Yeah. So that was pretty cool and completely impromptu. Like just this, local officer. I mean, at the end of the day, they're one of us, and super rad dude. BJ, right? Christian?
BJ, yep. Yeah,
BJ.
State Police, Pennsylvania State Police,
State Trooper.
Blairsville, Pennsylvania. You are well and truly taken care of in terms of your law enforcement community.
Yes, sir.
Nice. I've been at an event where we had the local police shut down intersections to allow our group to move through quickly. It was two light intersections to go through, and they just pulled out two officers and blocked them off and helped us get through.
That's exactly what happened in our case. But BJ even went one step further, because he was like, none of this stuff is legal in Pennsylvania, and he actually gave Christian and myself a card that was like the bearer of this card. Please extend. I think it just says, please extend the courtesies of this card. All the common courtesies of this card that you can. Or whatever. Wow. And it's basically, it was kind of not really get out of jail free card, but basically
these guys aren't a-holes card.
Yeah, these guys are cool. Leave them alone, cut them a break, because I mean, we really,
Does it have an expiration date on it, or can you go back years later and be like, I still got that card? You can't touch me.
I don't think so.
The cool thing too is in West Virginia, we had a state senator. Along with us, Senator Mark Maynard from West Virginia, and he is the chair of their outdoor recreation program. So, when we were in Logan, Utah, about to go out on their state Hatfield-McCoy trail system, he called the local mayor, who had the police show up and escort us through town, blocking off intersections and stuff for us. And that's just kind of, it was nice to be in a place where, as an off-roader, you're not being misunderstood or vilified. You're being supported and welcomed. And so I will say this to anyone listening to this: if you're planning an East Coast off-road trip, look into West Virginia, because they really want you there. I mean, they're everywhere we went in West Virginia. They were super gracious, super receptive, very, very welcoming, and the trails were legit. I mean, it is legit wheeling there.
So anybody you guys may have heard anecdotally about the Hatfield-McCoy trail system. That's been around for probably 15 years now, and it was initially open to just quads and dirt bikes, and then later side-by-sides. Well, that program has become immensely successful, to the point that they have expanded. They've continued to expand that program. I think they now have 10 off-road areas, 9 of which are linked. So you can literally get on your quad in West Virginia in one trail system and ride for hundreds of miles, hundreds of miles. So the reason I say that is what they've done now is that they've realized that, there's more user groups out there. And so they've actually opened up 3 of those 10 systems, and they're working on more, to full-size 4x4s. And there are, like us, Jeeps, trucks, you name it. And so they're legit trails. I mean, they are like, this is not bunny slope type stuff. I mean, they are legit trails. And so
Ivy Branch was about as legit a trail as UA, I think, has ever run, probably.
And so anybody that's looking at, places to go wheeling, West Virginia is a great one.
We were supposed to have Senator Mark Maynard on our podcast sometime this past year, and I don't know what happened. Some sort of communication. I'm sure that he's busy on his end, but it's a bummer we didn't have him on, because it sounded like he was doing a lot for the industry. So
yeah. If you ever have the chance, he's a great guy. It'd be probably a good conversation.
And we could probably reconnect you if need be. So
awesome. That'd be awesome. I'm sure you guys seen a million amazing rigs throughout UA. If you could spend an afternoon wheeling any of them, which one would it be?
The wheels are turning.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is for many years, the Four Wheel and Off Road would build the official Ultimate Adventure project vehicle, and so that started in 2001 when Rick Payway built an M38A1. He called the Ultimate A1, and actually, Rick didn't get it finished in time for the start of Ultimate Adventure, so he missed the Rubicon. So. We were all at the hotel that night. Rick finally got the rig running and ran the Rubicon by himself, and then met us at the hotel the next morning.
Whoa, that's hardcore right there.
For me, it would probably be one of those UA rigs that I didn't get to see because I wasn't a part of the event. I did see, and I've driven Fred Williams' tug truck, the Cummins powered square body Ram. There was just some that Ford STP colored F-150
that thing was rad.
Randy Ellis
did.
Yeah. Maybe I probably want to just drive that just to experience that particular rig. It's so outside of my normal sphere of what I'm accustomed to that it would probably be pretty cool.
Yeah, that for me, I would say probably that F-150. That was a crusher car, so unfortunately, it's now razor blades. But it was a long travel IFS car that Randy Ellis built. He's a fabricator that happens to be here in Phoenix. Very, very, very talented guy, and that was a cool car, and it worked really well.
Both-sided, and
yeah, it worked. It worked really, really well. The other one, I actually probably Fred's summer camp Jeep. I've never driven it. I've never even been behind the wheel.
Yeah, how come we've never driven that?
It's I don't know, but it's retarded. It's a supercharged.
It's LSA 556.
Supercharged LSA, spider track axles, coilovers front and back. Yeah. It's been stretched. It's wide. It's low. It works really, really well. I would say that would probably be my choice. Is that thing's pretty rad.
That is a cool Jeep.
All right, guys. We got one more question for you, and that is, where can our listeners find you guys?
Well, I'm at motortrend.com /ultimate. No, what is it? Motortrend.com /events /ultimate-adventure. I think if you want to find the UA stuff, they don't make it easy, man. I'm on Instagram at HBomb Industries or at Ultimate Adventure Official. If you want to get an application to come on UA, hit me at either of those Instagram handles. Private message me with your email address, and I'll send you an application. It's clunky, but that's what I'm doing these days.
And I am.
What is HBomb? What is HBomb Industries? Sorry.
That was when Instagram was in its infancy. I started a Christian Hazel account with like one of my Peterson publishing emails that eventually went away. And so I basically locked myself out of my own name. I do have Christian Hazel Official, but by the time I got around to doing that, so I'm a guitarist, and I was just messing around in the garage, and I made a guitar stand with the H, and it looked kind of like a mushroom cloud. And I'm like, oh, I'll make these and I'll sell them, and I'll call it HBomb Industries because whatever, it was just stupid. It's stupid, but I have a decent amount of followers, enough that I'm not gonna just junk that account or change it. So it's stupid.
I actually didn't know that story, by the way. That is because I've always been curious myself where HBomb Industries came from. But I'm on Instagram at McGee Media 2. So, and McGee Media 1, or the original McGee Media, was much the same. I locked myself out of my own account. So
that's a big bummer. Yeah.
All right, guys. And to our listeners, next week, be sure to tune in. We're going to be talking about the 2024 Land Cruiser.
And thank you, everyone who has been listening with us. And thanks for the questions. Also, thanks to Trent and Christian for coming on and joining us to talk about UA, the ultimate adventure, not something that might be a medical condition. We appreciate everybody who's out there watching us live on YouTube and all the other places. Make sure you're sharing us with your friends and your family and helping us grow. And God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Colby Valve and 4 Patriots to see all of their great products. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our Linktree account or by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, and be safe and courteous. Thanks for listening.
Right on, guys.
Right on. Well, hopefully that wasn't boring.
No, it's